welcome to Travelogue. I'm Yanling. I'm taking you to my dream city if I'm 1,400 years younger. Camels are clustered outside of city wall, waiting to be loaded with ceramics, paintings, and cascades of silk. And the merchants inside the town get ready to bargain for the newest import, exotic spices, Persia's fashion, and maybe Syrian's new instrument. This is so many people's yearning center, the cosmopolitan of the Grand Tang Dynasty, Chang'an. The city that sits on the ancient site today is modern Xi'an, but let's first take a time trip back to one of its most glorious times, Tang Dynasty. Together with Athens, Rome, and Cairo, Xi'an is acclaimed as one of 4 leading and still living capitals of ancient civilizations in the world. Served as capital of 13 dynasties for a time of over a millennium, the city itself is a living museum, an open history book, an archaeologist's toilet. It was from here, in 139 BC, that envoy Jiang Qian set out on his long journey to the west that opened the Silk Road, which extended as longest during Tang Dynasty, when Chinese ancient civilization is considered which is most glorious. As a center and symbol of this glory, Chang'an magnified artists, poets, travelers, scientists, merchants, and foreign students from all over the world. Constant exposure and exchange of new ideas and concepts nurtured an unprecedentedly open and culturally tolerant city. Nothing could make a real Chang'aner easily raise his eyebrows, daring fashion, interracial marriage, or even have emperors reign the empire. It was the best of the time, and Chang'an was just the best place to be for everyone. Today's city wall was rebuilt 600 years ago based on Tang Dynasty structure. Standing at 12 meters tall, stretching over more than 13 kilometers, it's a monument of Xi'an's history itself. As the most important city fortification in ancient time, the city wall circled the entire inner city in a rectangular shape, with only 4 gates opening up in 4 directions, controlling all comings and goings. As a military fortress, top of the city wall was stationed by soldiers, and no commoners were ever allowed to be strolled around. Time has definitely changed for better in this perspective at least. Tourists are not only allowed to walk through the passage that used to be reserved only for the emperor, but also can go for an easy tour in the luxury and ease a military officer on duty would never imagine. Oh my God!
Oh, your trousers are getting that cold.
Yeah? I'm not sure this. No, this is. This is very good.
Do you want to try it?
Really?
Yeah, on It's my turn. How do you know? In the old military fortification, you can take a bike tour. This is the longest and best preserved city wall of the whole world. It's going to be quite a tour. I would imagine most people come to Xi'an for his history part, like I do. But in the middle of the city, or more accurately on the top of it, it's hard to ignore the city's mobile energy that gestated under its ancient look, and its strong modern pulse bumping just underneath the serene setting. Today's Xi'an population exceeds 6 million. Urban planning, inherited from as early as Tang Dynasty, makes the city look more orderly than most provincial city I have ever been to. According to Chinese tradition, a drum tower and a bell tower are to be built side by side in a city center to report time. The bell is ring by dawn and the drum by dust.
In ancient time, this bell was controlled by specific official reporting exactly time. Today, tourists play it as a lucky charm. If you hit one, you're guaranteed happy. The second time, you're guaranteed healthy. The third time, guaranteed lifelong lucky. Okay, my life is settled. Eternal happiness. Xi'an is the first city in the whole world that really has urban planning. The whole city was designed in a very orderly grade pattern. So all the main street running all street. Even today, look at this. West, east, north, and south.
The grades created by streets were designed to meet at right angle, epitomizing the traditional Chinese aesthetic concept of balance and harmony. The population of Chang'an exceeded 2 million at its most prosperous in Tang Dynasty. It was world capital of its time by any standard. For fortune, adventure, career opportunities, or just a refined lifestyle, people from all over the world flocked to Chang'an through the Silk Road. But there are also others who chose to do the opposite, leaving the city of comfort, searching for personal spiritual enlightenment. Monk Xuanzang is perhaps the most famous one among them.
Tang Dynasty's culture flourishes in part has to thank to the fact that China became Buddhist learning center, and monk Xuanzang was one of the most important monks and contributor that made Chang'an the Buddhist flourished here.
Monk Xuanzang, better known as a monk from Tan in folklores, was also a devoted translator and traveler in history. At the age of 28, in 627 AD, he set off alone for the quest to India, the Buddhist Holy Land. He went through more than 130 kingdoms and states on the road, learned Buddhism in India, and brought back thousands of Buddhist scriptures home to Chang'an after 18 years' journey.
Upon his return, the whole country welcomed him, as if we welcome an astronaut return home from a space trip. His journey was as difficult for his time, and definitely longer.
Monk Xuanzang stayed in this Zen monastery for 12 years, working as abbot, translated Indian Sanskrit to Chinese. Buddhism came to China through Silk Road, actually as early as Han Dynasty, 600 years prior to Tang. As a foreign cultural import, it also went through a process of localization and eventually evolved into the national religion during Tang Dynasty. The Big Goose Pagoda is an example of this adaptation. Original Indian stupa was built in a form of square pyramid, catering to the Chinese aesthetic tradition.
Monk Xuanzang's unimaginable difficult journey to India inspired many legends in China. Even you don't know that much about him, you probably heard one of his most naughty disciples who escorted him the journey to India, Monkey King.
Like the Lion King in the West, Monkey King is loved by all in China. He's probably the most human character in Chinese mythology. The legend goes his sharp eyes can see through terrible forces of evil in every shape and size, and his brave and magic can defeat them all. Famen Temple has a reputation of being the forefather of pagodas and temples in central Shanxi province.
Most of today's China's remaining temples are from Ming and Qing dynasty, less than 600 years old. Only in Xi'an's temple, you can still find some trace of the grand Tang dynasty architecture style. And it might also struck you as they look kind of Japanese-alike. That's a misconception, at least a wrong order of reason and result.
Japan sent envoys and students to Chang'an regularly. Many of them stayed. As the most advanced and prosperous city in the world at that time, Chang'an was also the least discriminating place for foreigners in the world history. In Tang government, foreigners enjoy even equal career opportunities as local Chinese. Of course, still most of Japanese students went back home in hope of building a reformed Japan modeled after the Grand China. Architecture is one of the most important Chinese exports to Japan. Today, the best preserved architecture of Tang style is to be found in Nara and Kyoto, Japan. Of course, naturally in smaller scale than Chang'an.
Famen Temple used to be the exclusive royal family temple served by more than 25,000 Buddhist monks, and no low form of life would ever allow to get in. And discovery of the finger bowl in 1987 joined millions of people come to this place to visit. And under this pagoda, there were literally thousands of Buddhist relics were discovered.
The underground palace found under this pagoda is 21 meters long with 4 continuous blocks full of valuable relics tributed by Tang emperors personally. The palace is only 1.2 meter high, so it suggests that even emperors have to climb in by knees. That's probably the only time when a Grand Tang emperor stayed such a low profile. And it could also be the only opportunity in this emperor's lifetime. The palace used to be only opened every 30 years in a strict Buddhist ritual. For the emperor in power, paying respect to the Buddha's finger bone, and pray for the prosperity of the country. The underground palace have never been excavated or robbed before the discovery nearly 20 years ago. Its relics boast at the largest of its kind. More than 2,000 pieces of the most valuable treasure of the most glorious time are in display here. But for all Buddhists in the world, it is the remains of finger bones of Buddha that separates Bamen Temple from any other temples in China. For Buddhists, that's the real sacred treasure. And it's said for a Buddhist, seeing this is almost like catching a glimpse of the shadow of the Buddha. The Tang Empire extended from Turkish states in the west, Japan to the east, from Siberia in the north to Vietnam in the south, covering more territory than Alexander the Great and the Roman Empire. Within the Tang Dynasty's centuries-long prosperity, 50 years can be credited to one woman, Wu Zetian. Famous for her beauty and intelligence, Wu Zetian was chosen to the imperial court as concubine at age of 14, lived till 82, held power for more than 50 years. Qianling is the only imperial tomb shared by two emperors, Wu Zetian and her husband.
It says Emperor Gaozong not only get a feng shui checked out for this tomb, but also want to let nature to capture the beauty of his wife. And those peaks behind me is called breast peaks.
It's not very surprising considering the Tang Dynasty open social climate. As the only empress in China's entire history, she was known as hardworking, sagacious, but also ruthless and good at political intrigue.
Like many historic figures in history, Wu Zetian is very controversial as well. There are different theories about this wordless tablet. One theory that she thinks her achievement in her lifetime was wordless, beyond praise. But with my understanding of this heroine in my life, I'm more inclined in another theory.
I would rather believe that she was one of the rare clear-headed monarchs who could accept that, merits or demerits, history has its own verdict. The achievements of Zetian's reign and her predecessors were carried forward and further developed, eventually brought the Tang Dynasty to the peak of its Kaiyuan splendor. It was only the time like Tang Dynasty that could offer a stage for a woman like Wu Zetian, and her achievement in turn helped to enhance the position of women in the society. At one point, she even employed scholars to write biographies of famous women. First time, serve as a reminder to everyone what she herself proved to be, that women were every bit as capable of men, plus, most of the time, more beautiful.
咱们就是现在看到的这幅壁画中间端杯子的这位宫女，由于她的神态、体态以及她端杯的动作都恰到好处，所以呢，这位宫女她被中外艺术家就公认为是古代东方第一大美女。
Unlike today, the ideal figure for women in Tang Dynasty is a plump figure, kind of round and cute. Look at this one. Seems like just claiming, I'm big but beautiful. Don't you wish you just live in that dynasty?
And this is probably the most famous beauty representing that standard. Yang Yuhuan, concubine to Emperor Xuanzong, is known as one of China's famous four beauties over the history, and probably the plumpest one. Emperor Xuanzong rebuilt this palace, dedicating to her as one of the attempt winning her heart. He was believed to fall in love at the first sight, although he was 30 years senior and was her father-in-law at that time. It doesn't sound like a couple matched in heaven, but the emperor, of course, got what he wanted eventually, and the couple spent most winter months here together.
Now it's something exciting. We're going to peek how one of the China's most famous beauty take a bath.
In Chinese legends, she was described as a woman not only have a full and sensual figure, but also a woman with perfect skin. Before the time of expensive lotion, hot spring in her Huaqing palace is said to be the secret of that.
Talk about the long history of bathing culture. Only Roman Empire can compare with China. And during the Tang Dynasty, it became extremely more popular. And this was the private bathtub of concubine Yang. And the image of her stepping out of the bathtub was captured by one poem. And that became an eternal story. You want cold water better? People are all very excited just to share the water that concubine Yang has ever shared, and looking forward to get prettier, better skin. But I'm catching a cold. I just hope this hot spring will help me get over it. For better living, a friend of mine tips me about this international youth hostel, and I didn't expect what a luxury right under the city wall.
Xi'an is ranked as second must-see place after Beijing. 1/6 of foreign tourists coming to China come to this city. Although package tours most likely only includes a couple of days stay in their itineraries. So if you want to come as individual traveler and want to find a bargain rate for lodging in a central city, this is a place.
So when you stroll around in Xi'an city, what struck you most?
Well, for me, I think the contrast, the old and the new, the gates, the pagodas are absolutely gorgeous. And then the city street that we found last night, right outside this hostel, looked like New York City.
With lighting and
with beautiful lights and neon, and very tastefully done.
It's not only the courtyard, the warm smiles, bargain price, and central location, but a sense of community here that can easily make you feel at home. At a chilly winter night, what can make one feel warm and cozy than a dumpling dinner party with some newly met friends? The traditional Chinese dish, dumpling, is a new found here. The dining table is also always the best place to exchange travel tips and sharing experiences.
Oh, definitely. That's me.
It's like tofu and celery. It's the first time for you to make Chinese dumpling. Do you know how long ago the Chinese people started eating dumplings?
2,000 years ago?
How come you know that? Like when?
I'm a dumpling expert.
Oh really? Tell me more.
She was almost right. Along the Silk Road, some 2,000 years old dumpling process was discovered. So that might be some mutual influence between Chinese dumpling Or Italian ravioli? That was one of the subjects of discussion that night.
Xi'an is pretty.
Xi'an is very interesting. Xi'an is full of very friendly people.
It was from here I learned the saying, to learn the last 1,000 years of Chinese history, visit Beijing. To learn 5,000 years history prior to that, visit Xi'an. Yes, the first emperor, the terracotta soldiers, the Han culture, the China ware. Trust me, there's just too much left to see in Xi'an, and you can't afford to miss Travelogue next week. See you then. I'm Yan Ling.